Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to my respective lecturer, Dr. Zairy, and all my fellow friends. Welcome to this discussion, and today we would like to talk about the meaning of Quran and Sunnah, the difference between Quran and Sunnah, the relationship between the laws and the business transaction, and some examples related to business transactions from Quran and Sunnah. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Fatin Aqilah with my three other groupmates. Here we have Hazirah, Auni, and Noorashikin. Without further delay, I'll pass to you, Hazirah.
Today, I would like to start our presentation with introduction. So, the meaning of Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. Al-Quran is the Kalamullah, which is book of Allah, was revealed to Prophet Muhammad SAW through the mediations of the angel Jibril, has a miracle and is transferred by the mutawatir, and reading it is considered as worship. Meanwhile, As-Sunnah or the Sunnah is the Prophet is everything. This is based on the Prophet Muhammad SAW, whether in the forms of word, deeds, or conscience, takrir. From Malik's, indeed Rasulullah SAW has said, I leave you two things that you will not be lost forever as long as you adhere to both, namely the book of Allah, which is Al-Quran, and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. Next, the differences between Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. Al-Quran, the wording and meaning of the Quran from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meanwhile, As-Sunnah, the wording and meaning of the hadith from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Second, the revelations of the Quran was conveyed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet, through the mediations of the angel Jibril alaihi wasallam. Meanwhile, every word, deed, and conversations of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is considered as Sunnah. Third, Al-Quran is the first sources of Islamic jurisprudence, while As-Sunnah is the second sources of Islamic jurisprudence after the Quran. Next, it is forbidden to read during a major impurity, and it is forbidden to hold or carry it during a minor impurity of Al-Quran, while As-Sunnah can read it when impurity is large or small. Fifth, the Quran can be recited in a prayer, meanwhile hadith cannot be recited in a prayer. And the last one is the Quran is protected from any distortions, meanwhile As-Sunnah or hadith is not preserved, can be fabricated and falsified by others or publics. So, I will pass to the next presenter.
So for my next part, I will explain about the relationship between the law and Islamic business. There are 2 points that I will explain. Firstly, Al-Quran and Sunnah as a guidance in business transaction. Al-Quran and Sunnah has been used widely as a guidance since the Prophet Muhammad SAW. It was perfect guidance that Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala gave to us, and there is no mistake in any guidance that say in Al-Quran and Sunnah, including on the matter related to the business transaction. Al-Quran and Sunnah are the two main sources in Islam, and it is widely discussed in different matters. A business transaction or any event that involves in the exchange of good, money, or service between two and more parties involved. When it comes to a business transaction, there are a lot of ethics to be followed in order to avoid any mistake or corruption happening. Therefore, the best way to do business transaction is by guidance from Al-Quran and Sunnah. One of the guidance that Al-Quran and Sunnah has taught us is we need to be honest in business dealing. In Islam, honesty in business dealing is also valued. Between the seller and the buyer, there should be no ambiguity. If a seller sells counterfeit good or item, he will be held accountable. All fraudulent business dealing are prohibited in Islam. In several hadiths, the Prophet Muhammad SAW forbade his followers from engaging in such practice. There can be no other motive or transaction to be fraudulent, and for the both parties to be guilty if the seller and buyer are honest in their dealing. Another guidance stated in the Al-Quran and Sunnah is clear business transaction and purchasing and selling justly. For clear business transaction, a businessman should be bound. Buying and selling should be done with mutual consent rather than coercion. Islam strictly forbids any transaction in which both parties are unknown. Even in the Al-Quran instructs every Muslim businessman who deals with another person to write down the agreement and to make it clear to both parties. The transaction should be bound with the agreement and clear from each other party to avoid any misunderstanding or breaching of the transaction. And if anything happens, it will be easy for both parties to look up at the agreement. Another one, Al-Quran and Sunnah also guide us to be ethical worker when involved in the business transaction. One of the ethics that worker need to follow is to prioritize halal transaction and avoid any illegal transaction or use riba. As we all know, Prophet Muhammad SAW was a successful businessman. Based on the research, the secret to his success was based on the guidance of the Al-Quran and Sunnah, and it can be classified into 5 principles that can be followed by other Muslims. First of all, the sources of the knowledge or epistemology of Islamic business in Al-Quran and As-Sunnah. Second, the trader determine the direction of the business, which in effect is a form of the purification or monotheism to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Trader make a basic principle on the Shariah-based business as a business guide to achieving business objective. Fourth, trader must follow the ethic of the business as exemplified by Rasulullah SAW in business. And lastly, Islamic business based on the monotheism, Shariah, and morally will eventually bring the trader to the good life, as a promise by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet Muhammad SAW concept of the business knowledge derived from the Quran and Hadith has been proven to lead him and his company to a successful business. Successful entrepreneurs have a business goal that include not only profit and societal benefit, but also success in this world and the next, which is al-falah, with the primary goal of purifying monotheism to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second point is business is an ibadah. Ibadah must be integrated into every aspect of our life because everything we do in our life must be dedicated to Allah's divine will and pleasure. Giving everything we do in life a deeper meaning has significant impact on everything we want to achieve in life. Ibadah entails more than just praying and fasting. It also entails setting the right intention or called niyat. Nothing could go wrong if the niyat was set to please Allah or the love was for the sake of Allah. What is with you will be spent, and what is with Allah will last, said the Holy Al-Quran. All effort made without a niyat or intention will fade away, but the made for His pleasure will grow into paradise. It is because everything we do is for Allah's sake. A business must always link to ibadah. Allah will reward you for the conducting business in a halal way and correctly setting a niyat. Managing a company entails providing a service. This can be accomplished in a variety of ways. When providing a service to customer or client, it is essential to give them your all because this is the only way to demonstrate how serious a company is. Besides setting our niyat to the business and conducting business in a halal way, it is also important to make sure that the way business was handled or operated using the guidelines stated in the Al-Quran and Sunnah. One business needs to make sure that the scale must be right for any business that use scale, no fraud and also riba. The profit that got from a business must be used in a good way, and from the profit received, a businessman needs to pay for the zakat. When we discuss about ibadah, one of the pillars of Islam is obligation of prayer. Therefore, to make sure business is a part of ibadah is performing the salat. A business that was done by those who do not pray is not a step of the worship in the sight of Allah. On the other hand, a person who does business according to the Shariah by fulfilling the 5 conditions is considered to have devoted worship and devote himself to Allah. I think that's all from me, and now I will pass to the next presenter.
Example from Al-Quran, which is prohibition in riba. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 275 means those who consume or take riba cannot stand upright as the standing of a person forced by the riba with trembling because of the touch of the riba. This is because they say trading is the same as usury, whereas Allah has permitted trading in business and forbidden riba. So, however comes to him with a warning from his Lord and then ceases, then what he took before it is right and his affair is with Allah. And however repeat the act of taking riba, then those are the inmates of the fire, they will abide therein. In this verse has explained about prohibition of usury in conducting a sale and purchase transaction. Whoever is involved
with riba will get sin, and they are the inmate of hell in the hereafter. In addition, their life will not be praised by Allah for doing things that Allah forbids. Second, there is no deception in scale and measurement. In Surah Al-Mutaffifin verses 1-3 means it is a great misfortune for those who cheat in scales and measure. This is who receive a measure from others, they take it enough, but when they measure or weigh for others, they reduce the scale. From this verse, it can be concluded that sailors need to ensure that each scale and measure should be measured accurately. Better yet, traders can overweight in order to avoid lack of measure, and indirectly excess weight can be used as charity. On the other hand, if measurement or scale not accurate, the individual will suffer an accident and his business is not get Allah blessing because he is not honest in carrying out this activity. Therefore, seller must ensure that the measurements are accurate in order to get the pleasure of Allah. Example from Hadith, the basis of trust. Prophet ﷺ said, which means from Qala Ansariya radiallahu anha, he said that people who mix the property of God in ways that is not lawful, then they will get the punishment of hellfire on the day of destruction. Based on the hadith above, we must emphasis on trust and honesty in selling and buying activities. If we are honest, then Allah will provide more abundant sustenance. In addition, we will get our pleasure in seeking sustenance and avoid becoming members of hell in the hereafter later. Next hadith is about basis of responsibility, meaning the messenger of Allah said, when doing is when a rich man takes a long time to repay a debt, and if one of you is referred to a rich man to help repay debt, he should accept that referral. Based on this hadith, it can be concluded that the debtor should be responsible for settling his debt. In addition, the souls of the believers who are in debt will be suspended if the debt is not settled before he dies. So, if we have debt, we should pay in short time.
Thank you, Noorashikin, for your explanation. To conclude all above, it is obvious that the Quran and Sunnah are full enough to serve as a source of reference in the life of a Muslim throughout time, past, present, and future. Existing guides and reference must be useful in solving a wide range of difficulties, particularly in the realm of business transaction. The most important thing is to believe in the true item and study before doing good deeds with it in order to not divert from the wrong teachings and to be able to determine between halal and haram. Allah grant us with Al-Quran to be our guidance in whatever we do in this world, and As-Sunnah as supporting details to what is not clear in Quran through the Prophet Muhammad SAW, since everything we do in our daily lives will be examined in the afterlife. Therefore, we must be careful in making any reference regarding the transaction business so that what is our source of income is from a true source and there is no element of shubha. The relationship between Al-Quran and As-Sunnah with business transaction can no longer be disputed because they are interdependent. As a Muslim, you should use the Quran and Sunnah as a source of reference to ensure that every transaction is approved by Shariah. Next, in the previous examples, such as the basis of trust, the basis of accountability, the prohibition in riba, and the prohibition in disagreement in scales and measuring, have demonstrated how Islam values a clear source even in the smallest of things. Islam does not prohibit its followers from engaging in any transaction. Nonetheless, transparency in dealing is highly encouraged in order to avoid misunderstanding and injustice during the contract. Mixing right and wrong is against Islamic principles. This is consistent with information from Surah Al-Baqarah verse 42, which states, "Do not confound truth by overlaying it with falsehood, nor knowingly conceal the truth." Thus, telling truth and avoid from any doubt are really demanded in Islam. So next, here are some suggestions and recommendations that may be useful for us. First, we can always be cautious and thorough with any business transaction, such as reviewing and reading the terms and conditions first before signing any contract, so that we are not easily duped by others. Furthermore, we must always adhere to reliable sources such as Al-Quran and As-Sunnah when determining if a law is halal, necessary or haram. And lastly, if you have any question, it is best to ask the professionals to get clear and precise answers from those who are fluent in their subjects, rather than simply sharing the knowledge they have gained. By following the true sources and guidelines, we would be able to make better decisions in our daily lives, particularly in financial transactions. I think we have arrived at the end of the discussion. I hope you guys gain something from this discussion, and that's all from us. Thank you.